Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here. We have a fantastic video to share with you. I sat down with Bald Guy Money and Cobra Stacker at the World Money Fair, and we had an incredibly fun and really in-depth conversation about silver, the markets, and everything that's happening right now. If you're not subscribed to Cobra Stacker, go over and subscribe to his channel. If you're not subscribed to Bald Guy Money, and if you're not, why not, go and subscribe to Bald Guy Money's channel and let us know what you think about our incredible precious metal ramble.
Well, guys, I'm here at the Berlin World Money Fair 2026, and I have the greatest honor of having Bald Guy Money. Thank you so much for coming down. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure you've seen him, and if you haven't, where have you been? One of the best channels for financial things going on, everything in the world. And my very good friend, who you all know as well, Backyard Bullion. How are you, brother?
Hello, look, I am here. You know me, I'm
the hands.
The hands, the magic hands. Thought you were describing Bald Guy again there when you were saying expert financial advice. I feel like honored to be in the room with him. I've been watching his stuff for so long.
Yeah, and
we're all friends here, guys.
Yeah, it was great. I reached out to Bald Guy. He said he was in one of his videos. He said he was coming to the Berlin Money Fair. And I said, would you like to link up? And graciously, he said, absolutely.
How could I say no to you guys? I mean, you guys are both great guys. Of course, we're meeting here just for the first time, but we've had such a fantastic time together. We've shared stories, we've shared laughs, and it's just a great honor to meet you guys. I've enjoyed it.
And isn't it incredible, just even through massive geographies across the world and cultures and backgrounds and histories of life, we've got so much in common as content creators, as stackers, as investors, and that's incredible.
Yeah. So, we're not so different. I told you guys, my father is from Manchester. He was born in Manchester. So, you know, it's not like especially...
That's not your fault, bro.
No, I know. You know, forgive me.
Well, look, World Money Fair, very quickly, how have you found it? We've been here for the last 3 days, third day today. How's it been for you?
Intense. Yeah. Of course, you know, last year when I was here, we were really at the early stages of a breakout and the prices just really started rolling. People were saying, what's going on? They were expecting things to turn around shortly. There weren't probably half of the amount of people that have been here over the last few days that I've seen. Now this year, of course, we've experienced a totally different situation where we experienced a big move up coming into the event and a big crash yesterday, which I hope we'll get into a little bit.
Yeah, man, it's the talk of everyone. Like on the fair, you go and meet not just normal people, but all the companies. They have no idea what's going on, where it's going to end up. And the first day, like you say, you get those peaks. And then yesterday,
unbelievable. And the move was so massive. Even though we've seen in the last week or so a massive increase, the move down was massive as well. But is this something to panic about? I know I've had so many comments, so many calls. Is this a major crash? You know, what's going on? Are we in trouble? Do we sell? Do we buy? So there's a lot of fear out there at the moment. What do you think? What is going on? Why has this happened?
Well, you know, there are two ways to look at it. The first one is on the technical side. So if anybody watching this has even heard of technical analysis, you have two kind of very basic concepts in technical analysis. One is called price resistance. That's a price where it's difficult for the price to kind of get above. It fights it for a little bit before it breaks above and continues up. And then you have something called price support, where after you break a very important resistance level, usually what you'll see is the price come back. It will test that support to see, okay, are there buyers at this lower level before I can carry on? And that's a very important and crucial moment in price development because especially for precious metals, it allows the leveraged, so the people who are using leverage, or, you know, I also call it tourist money, speculative money, that allows all that money to get flushed out and for real buyers to come back in. Now, if many of you remember, I mean, we're at levels that were basically, we were at like, what, 3 weeks ago, right? So this is really nothing to panic about. We finished the month of January still up on silver, I don't know, what, 14, 15%?
This is the thing that I'm, just like you guys, I've had emails all night from people going, oh my God, I bought £4,000 an ounce for gold and 85 plus with the premium for silver. What's going on? And just remember, this was the same price 3 weeks ago. And if you made the right decision to buy for the right reasons, rather than to flip it a week's time and make profit, and that's risky, some people can do it, but you're going to lose maybe as well. And just hold. This is what we're about. We're about the long term.
And I think something we were discussing earlier was that for the people who have been in this a long-term type of situation, they're okay. They're quite settled because they bought back in the day when we were paying £20 an ounce or even before that. And so, yes, we've had a quite a substantial drop in a short time, but they're sitting there going, well, I'm still okay. But the recent people who jumped in because the prices were going up and it was like, wow, this is amazing, I need to buy, there's a lot of panic there.
Yeah.
And I think they need to settle and really understand, which is why we got you two here, so we can get some ideas and real understanding of what's going on.
Go on then, Bald Guy, what's the cheapest piece of silver you've ever bought?
Oh, below $20 an ounce. I was buying it back, in 2008 after Ben Bernanke started, the helicopter money in the United States.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was probably around $16 an ounce. And at the time, there was no VAT in Poland.
Yeah.
They only put VAT on silver from January 2025.
Yeah.
It used to be just VAT on the premium.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wasn't paying much.
We're very familiar with it because my early days on my channel, we would import literally 50 kilos of silver and drop ship it out to, 150 different buyers that were using this legal scheme to avoid paying VAT in the UK. So it was just crazy times. Mine was under £10, £9.90.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
crazy.
Yeah, I was about, I think, £18.
You were a bit later to the party.
A little bit later, but
yeah.
Still early.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But let me just say one last thing about that price support level.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people who watch me regularly, they might remember I did a video when the price of silver was closing above $80 for the first time. And I said in that video, I said we could see silver come back to $72 an ounce. I said, if we come back to that level, I said, buy that pullback.
Yeah.
We came back to $71 an ounce. That was the last time that we actually tested any kind of price support for silver. And what happened after that was we added, if we're counting from intraday highs, $50 to the price without any check of backward support, which means there was lots of leverage, lots of speculation, and lots of what I call tourist money entering the silver space that simply had to be flushed out so we could find out where the real buyers were. Now, did I expect that we would see a $40 swing in price in one day? Listen, I don't think even the dinosaurs in this gold and silver market expected something like that. I would have expected a first stop maybe around $100, maybe just below $100 around that area. Look, I look at this as you've heard in the video games when they talk about speed runs, right? How quickly can I, this is a speed run in precious metals. And the reason is because none of the fundamentals have changed. I met with Josh Fair from the Scottsdale Mint yesterday, and he told me the same thing. I asked him point blank. And this is a guy, he's not an analyst. He's not, he's done all of those things, but he is an insider. He sees the flows of precious metals. And I asked him, I said, there are two competing narratives in the market. Is there too much silver or is there not enough silver?
Right. Yeah.
And the answer he gave me point blank to that question, a spoiler alert for everybody who's going to watch my video tomorrow on YouTube, as we're recording this on Saturday. I'll be releasing, as always, on Sunday. I gotta face the crowd, right?
I know.
There is not enough. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And we've talked about what the reasons might be of why we saw the pullback yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people will talk about JP Morgan, BlackRock, and a lot of the banks. And there was a massive situation, even last weekend, I think it was, where because of the ETFs and the paper money and the shorts that the banks had done, there was a real talk, or maybe a real chance, of bank collapses. Do you think some of this is due to that? Have we had any sort of manipulation going on? Because there'll be a lot of talk about manipulation now. I'm
not sure about the bank collapses, right?
Right.
And there is this kind of trend in the silver world. Like every time the price goes up, it's like, see, this was perfectly normal. And anytime it goes down a little bit, we cry manipulation, right?
Yeah. That's why I wanted to bring it up, to sort of say,
the banks have tamped it down. That's the phrase that always comes out. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I have evolved my way of thinking over the 10 years of doing this to see that money is fake. It's not real. It's just the stuff that you hold is real, and silver and gold is real. A lot of these banks are built on the paper stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And as that starts to devalue over time, there are going to be impacts. Will it be a complete failure? I'm not a proponent of like the dollar will not go to zero. It will just be replaced. There will be a moment where there is a currency exchange and it will be called the new dollar, or it will be the CBDC dollar.
Do you think there'll be an interim period which will be a bit rough, or do you think it'll be a straight swap over a weekend?
I think, unfortunately, and this is a kind of telling place that we're in as a society in the world, in the Western world, I think definitely, there'll be an announcement that they say the CBDCs are coming in, or the new dollar this is the new standard, the new dollar. And everyone just accept it and be like, well, okay, I can still go to the shops, I can still buy my grocery, I can still put fuel in the car, pay my rent, so that's fine. And then that stops mass hysteria and rioting and runs on banks, and it's just another made-up money. All currencies go to zero, we know that.
Yeah.
It's just going to be replaced with a new currency.
I think you may be right, and I think a lot of people out there, there's our little clique of gold and silver stackers and hoarders and all that lot, and we sort of think we don't want CBDCs, and there may be other people out there saying we don't want CBDCs, everything will be tracked. But I think it's inevitable.
Yeah.
I don't think
100%.
anything can be done about that.
I mean, we're all tracked now anyway.
Yes,
every time
of course,
you spend
your phones
on your card and everything, your phone.
If you make a purchase of gold and silver at this World Money Fair event above 2,000 euros, which I've done since I've been here, so I'm still buying, guys. I'm not panicked at all.
I bought 5,000 euros worth of gold.
I don't even.
But they put your.
I don't even want to say what I've done.
Did they take your? They took your name and address, right?
Yeah.
They took your name and
Oh,
address.
I didn't know that.
One stand didn't, because I bought just one from them. So I was
Anything
under the
above
threshold.
any transaction above 2,000 euros, they're taking.
It's the same in the UK. We have anti-money. They call it anti-money laundering laws. You have to give a copy of your ID if you do more than 5,000 in one transaction, or 10,000.
No, you customer
in a year. Yeah. So
yeah.
they know. And so you probably don't know this, Ball Guy. I was audited by the US equivalent of the IRS, so HMRC in the UK. They
really,
because of my business and everything, and all my personal finances. They came, they sat down with me, they went through everything. It was all fine. I didn't do anything wrong.
Of course.
But the amount of information that they had and that they knew was scary. And when I just and they're really nice. They're just humans. They're they're there to help you. If you're hiding something, that's
they're doing a job, right?
Exactly. And they I think quite quickly saw that I had good records and I was above board. And I had a good chat with the guy, and he was like, "Yeah, we know everything. Like the AI, the bots they've got in the background, they can just scrape social media. They've got all the data from eBay, PayPal, all of the banks. They know, and they're coming. And that's the scary thing for me. And when you get CBDCs, that's only gonna increase it, because they'll know every penny and pound that's gone into every single account that you have anything to do with. And not that I'm saying that we should have the anonymity to be doing things illegally, but there's a privacy thing here which I'm very like. I hate banks, excuse my language, but I hate the banks. I have had issues with people like banks stopping me making payments for gold and silver, and it's just so horrible, because they make you go through like a half-hour questionnaire about what your life is, why you're buying it, what are you buying, where are you buying it from. I'm like, I don't want to tell a random stranger all this stuff. So,
and you had heard stories about that. Taylor Kenny, I shared a clip of hers in a recent video of mine, and she is over at ITM Trading. And she was saying that, they were having clients who were having payments blocked when they were trying. Now, it wasn't all of their clients, but there was a large uptick in this happening. And it's funny how, not long after, we are seeing this major move down. And again, I don't want to come on here and say every move down is manipulation. These cleansing events are necessary, and clearly we needed to cleanse. We found that support around $75.
Yep.
Funnily enough, JP Morgan, though, had a big amount of short positions, so bets in the market that are paper bets against the price of silver in the market.
So they win when the price goes down.
Yeah, but listen to this. Curiously enough, yesterday there's this Italian guy. He's based in Hong Kong, just Dario, and he's an analyst, and he follows all of the short positions, the long positions, the COMEX. He's a great guy to follow on X, and he showed how JP Morgan closed. So they completed these trades at $78 an ounce for silver. So they're closed now. So you have to wonder, if we haven't made the bottom already, we're very close to the bottom, because they've already stomped out their short positions. And I think the whole point of this is when we saw computers at the COMEX overheat and go down. We saw yesterday the London Metals Exchange. I don't know if you saw this in the news.
No.
They delayed the opening of metals trading because they were having technical issues, right?
Technical
issues. Guys, these are the moments, if you've ever seen the movie The Big Short.
Oh, we talked about this the
talked
other
about
night.
It, right?
What a film.
This was the moment when Michael Burry calls up the bank and says, where do you have me on my position, right? And they said, oh, you know, our computers are down. And he says, that's funny because the banks at Morgan Stanley are down and the banks at JP Morgan are down. And this was the exact moment those guys were dumping their short positions. Actually, I should say they were dumping their long positions on the mortgages, right? They were dumping these mortgages that they owned on unknowing retail investors, mostly retirement funds and stuff, mom and pop, right?
Isn't it just massively criminal, that attitude?
Well, they're taking the other side of the bet in the background while they know what they're doing is wrong. It is wrong. But for anybody, the thing that really impressed me yesterday was most of the community was super understanding. Anybody who's basically been in this since January 2025 was kind of, okay, maybe we haven't seen it to this scale yet, but we also never saw the price add $50 in a month, right?
Yeah.
Because we saw a big pullback in April 2025. That was from about $35 down to $28.
Yeah.
So, okay, that builds a little bit of confidence in you. We continued up. We continued up to $50 and we broke $50. We got to $54.50 an ounce. And what happened then? We came back to $46.
Right.
So that's the second test that a lot of people survived. Then you had the test from 80 down to 71. That was a $9 wipeout. And now, of course, we've had a $30 wipeout on daily trading. And the thing is, the moves up are getting bigger. Yeah. And anybody watching this has to understand, as these moves up get bigger, the retracements down,
they'll also be bigger.
They're also going to be bigger.
But I think the important thing to understand is over a long period of time, whether that be a year or a 5-year, decade-long period, the upward trajectory is the thing that is just inevitable for this, in my opinion.
Yeah, I believe it will start creeping up again. But my other question is about gold. Now, we know silver's volatile. We know that we've had this massive increase, which we've had in gold as well over the past year. You know, it's also phenomenal what we more than doubled on gold. And we saw this massive drop in gold as well.
It wasn't as much of a drop.
No,
but still, it was big for gold.
But I tell
never
you what,
seen a drop like that
for
in
gold,
such a short period of time.
For gold,
yeah. So, is that in the same context as everything else that we said about silver, or is there a difference with gold and what's happened there?
Well, I think the drivers are the same, and it's funny because, you know, when you read the mainstream financial news, what are they saying? They're saying, oh, well, there are two storylines they're going with. Traders are taking profits, profits. And, oh, well, everything's okay now because President Trump has selected this guy to Warsh to be ahead of the Federal Reserve. So now it looks like the Federal Reserve independence is maintained. So all of these traders took their profit and they're moving on. Now, if we look at the market cap move of gold in that one day, you're talking about $4 or $5 trillion getting wiped out. I better watch the Rolex market to see if we see a huge move up in price as people spend this $4 or $5 trillion they took out. This is not a real type of move, in my opinion. And if anything, coming back even to the silver point, from my point of view, what happened yesterday, and this might sound, you know, conspiracy theorist kind of direction, this was a bailout of the banks.
Right.
This was a bailout of the banks that's happening behind the scenes. They were short on the metals. They've made a massive amount of paper because this wasn't physical metal, by the way, that was being traded. These were all derivatives. And when you talk to guys like Josh Fair, who run a mint, who work with other countries around the world, nothing changed in the physical market.
Right.
This was a smash in the paper market to help get the banks back to, let's say, even on their paper positions.
Yeah.
And anybody holding physical gold and silver is absolutely unaffected by this. That said, and let this be a lesson to each and every one of you watching this video. If you're trading options, especially same-day options, like zero-day options. If you're using leverage on ETFs, on mining stocks, forget it.
Yeah.
I hope you learned a lesson yesterday.
Yeah.
Just own the real thing, and this is not a moment to be trading. Because
100%.
even the best traders are not going to trade this correctly.
Yeah.
This is a buy the dips, and hold the rips kind of moment.
Yeah. So that's very interesting what you've just said there. But just to clarify, so my understanding is a bit better. ETFs, people holding that paper money, has that dropped massively now as well? Have they lost a load of money in the ETFs? Anyone holding ETFs?
ETFs, and then these contracts for difference, right? A contract for difference is just, I have a contract with a trading company, and if the price goes up, they pay me out the money, but they know it's like a casino, right? That most traders make bad decisions.
Yeah.
So on the
90% don't win,
And yesterday was the big day that they lost. And a lot of those banks were able to recoup money that they had lost because, okay, the ETFs, it depends which ETF, right? People talk about PSLV, that they actually hold the metals. From my point of view, sure, if you want to have part of your exposure to this for a paper capital gain, fine. But again, don't be trading it and don't use leverage. I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's an interesting thing you sort of said there about the banks being able to recoup some of their losses and some of their cash there. We've got to look, I think, at these big price moves as nothing has been lost. It's just a redistribution of the wealth. And unfortunately, it seems that redistribution is more headed towards, like you say, the bailout there of the banks. The problem that people have on those paper contracts is that that's coming directly out of their pocket. If you own the silver, like you say, you haven't changed how many ounces of silver you've got. It's there. It's still in your pocket. I own a lot of silver, and yesterday, when it drops £30 an ounce, you multiply the number of ounces you have by the number of pounds it's gone down. And I sort of, went, okay. Well, that was an interesting day. But then you remember that a year ago, you were spending £20 an ounce, and you're still over 3 times right now up on that investment. And overnight, like you guys have had, I've had emails, and I had one chap, he said, I bought 5 sovereigns at £750 a sovereign about a month ago or 2 months ago, whenever it was. I'm really worried, is it going to go down even more? And I'm sitting there going, well, yesterday I just paid £950 for some sovereigns, but also £750 is a great price in my opinion, because there's only one way that in the end it's going to go.
Yeah. And saying on that, where you've left off there, what are we looking at now? There's going to be people saying, well, is it going to go back up? Is it going to drop further down? Is it going to be a long period now for gold and silver to go up? Or will we see these massive rises? Which I don't think, having these massive rises, people jump up and down for them. I don't think it's always beneficial,
No.
So let's start with you.
Well, you and I mean, I frequently send you a morning, a
little
like
thing.
the BYB morning update.
And for me as a dealer, because I do the auctions, these massive changes make it incredibly hard for me to buy. Because there's a real worry at £95 an ounce or whatever it may be. Am I going to buy loads? And then we have a drop like this, and then you've got to really hedge it really carefully.
And my precious metals business with pouring silver, I'm in a production phase right now, so I've already locked in a price for those items. But what a lot of people maybe don't understand when you run a small business and it's a precious metal business, when you sell stock, you have to restock for the next stock that you're going to buy. Yeah. So you could say, oh, you're making loads of money on those products. But actually, I'm not, because I'm having to spend. You've got to replace it, and that's really challenging. And that's the message I've been getting from a lot of the mints and a lot of the companies down in the money fair this last 2 days. They just don't know where the price is going to be, and they feel guilty about putting a 1 ounce silver coin up for €150 because that's the only way that it can make it economical for them. And I heard a lot of people in the lobby yesterday, like looking at price, going, "Oh my God, what's going on? What are we going to do?" And I really am glad that I'm not in that position. Yeah. But I will be maybe in 4 months' time when my products go live, and that's scary.
So we'll start with you.
Yeah.
Your opinion. Obviously, everything we say is opinion. There's no advice here and all that lot. But
we're just guys who like to watch.
What do you think is going to happen to gold and silver now? Let's say over the next 6 months.
Tough. I think we are going to see a resettling of silver. I think it's going to have these big swings. There is no doubt in my mind there's going to be more big swings. I can't see silver going below. So we're in the UK. So pounds is what I do. So we're about, I think £50 an ounce feels like it's a major resistance level. If it goes below that, we'll see it fall even more. But I just don't think it will go below that. With the way that it's been recently and where the prices have been recently and the premiums have been recently, people see £50. I think even £60 an ounce where it is now, people are going to be buying like heck.
Oh yeah,
next week.
I've already had calls.
I've already got it, and that's where I feel silver is. I feel gold is going to be less volatile, but the upwards trajectory over the next 6 months is where I see things. I'm not worried about the dips.
Yeah, I'm not worried about them either. Anybody who's saying they can accurately predict what's going to happen in a very short period of time is either from the future or a liar. Okay, because the thing is, this market could rebound within 2 weeks, or it could take until May, potentially even June, for us to recover this and test new highs. Yeah, that's the reality of the situation because of the level of volatility we're dealing with. The two fundamental factors that I think we need to look at that separate gold and silver. Number one, for silver, there is a growing need for silver, of course, in industry, in manufacturing, and there just isn't enough of the metal to go around. That is inevitably going to drive the price back up again, which has nothing to do with the paper market. This is a complete disconnect. And with gold, even though Trump has picked this guy who is theoretically, they say he's hawkish. And when you're talking about the Federal Reserve in the United States and interest rate policy, that usually is a term used to describe somebody who doesn't like lower rates, who thinks interest rates should be higher. This is a disciplined person, a hawk, right? But I don't think President Trump is going to pick somebody who is not going to be accommodative to his vision, which is lower interest rates. So this is a typical market reaction and overreaction. And the fact of the matter is that gold is, looking at the separate situation that applies to gold and silver, because these are two different beasts. Gold is the only alternative to the United States dollar.
That is.
And we are slowly reaching a period. We've already entered this new phase where countries are increasingly going to this neutral reserve asset. Number one, because they don't trust US debt. They don't trust the value of the US dollar. And they don't trust the neutrality of the US dollar, which was really kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? People were betrayed by the neutrality back in 2022 when Russian assets were frozen. And countries looked at that, holding US dollar assets, and they were saying, well, if I get on the wrong side of the European Union or the United States, my stuff is next. So the euro and the US dollar, they lose a lot of attractiveness as a reserve asset as a result of that. Now, do you want to replace your dollars and euros with yen? Heck no. Pesos, pounds, yuan, rupees. You don't, because that stuff is even worse than dollars and euros. So where is the place they invariably go? It is to gold, and that is momentum that is still happening. I live in Poland. The Polish Central Bank, which currently holds 550 metric tons of physical gold in their reserves, recently announced that they are moving from 550 to 700 metric tons of gold. This is not a trend that is stopping or reversing. Central banks and central bankers are not traders. They're not, day traders. They have made a decision. That decision started, curiously enough, in 2010.
They think in decades.
Decades.
Even multi-decades.
But
absolutely.
I mean, something you said was, it rang true. When they did that to Russia, when America did that to Russia, all the countries in the BRIC nations and all that, their whole thing was to get out of the dollar. It was to build a gold, you can trade in gold now. And that's what they've been doing. Even they've come away from the petrodollar, and they're doing things in different ways. So there's massive changes. And again, what you said about Trump wanting interest rates down, it doesn't work in America's favor for interest rates to go up because their debt is so high at the moment. To pay back what they're paying back, the interest rates, for it to go up is going to cripple them. And they're just going to have to print again.
Well, I mean, I'm not an economist. I don't have an economy background, but I've absorbed a lot of information. And ultimately, governments like inflation because it means the debt is less of an issue for them.
Yeah.
It inflates away. If you really look at it, and lower interest rates will have an impact on inflation. Will we see double-digit inflation figures again? I don't think so, but you just never know. And again, that feeds into our sort of way of life and belief that those pounds, pennies, dollars, yen, they'll all just keep devaluing over time, and gold and silver don't devalue. That's the hedge that we all play for. And that's what's important for me.
To the people who are thinking, oh, this is 2011 all over again, what you have to remember is that in 2010, the central banks started buying gold again as net buyers because they saw what happened in the United States in 2008, the global financial crisis, and the printing of $700 billion to save the day. Now, the fundamental thing that has changed between 2011 and where we are today in 2026 is when the global financial crisis started. The United States obviously needed to fill a big hole in the market to stabilize global markets. Who came to save the day? Who purchased the most US treasuries, the most US debt to help bail out the system?
Was it China?
Oh, it was China. If you look, if you're watching this video, pull up maybe another tab and look at foreign holders of US debt. You will see that the amount of US debt that China owned between 2008 and 2010 ballooned up to more than $1 trillion US dollars. Now, what have they been doing since then? They are selling it. And this time, when we hit a bump in the road, China is not going to save the day because the relationship is not a mutually symbiotic relationship where they need each other. It is an adversarial relationship. And the end of the dollar is blood in the water for China in order for them to impose their kind of gold reserve system on the world so they can have control.
They can strategically now dump to weaken the dollar. That's what they can do to really bring it down anyway.
I don't think they want to destabilize the globe because, of course, you know, their factories are working 24 hours a day. They don't want a total destabilization.
There's definitely a symbiotic relationship between the two, but it's being pushed and tested, I think.
They want evolution. They don't want revolution.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I agree.
Right. So they're happy to slowly watch this play out.
Right.
Because again, the Chinese are patient. In the West, we have a little less patience. We want, you know, we make 3-year plans. We make 5-year plans. Okay, 2030. This is my vision till 2030. China's, what's my vision to 2050? 2060. They're playing the long game.
But I mean, they're buying land, they're buying properties in many countries in England. We're seeing massive investment from the Chinese. And so they are doing things, and I think very strategically over a long period of time, which is an amazing thing.
And I think everybody watching this video, in the context of what happened yesterday on the market, you need to also put yourself in the mentality of the long game. And the singular question you need to ask yourself is the value of the dollar, the pound, the euro, whatever currency it is you use, is it at any moment in the next 10 to 20 years, is it going to go up? And the answer unequivocally, this is the one thing I can guarantee you, is that it's not going to go up. 100%. The purchasing power of that currency is going to go down. Meaning when you're talking about something that has a limited supply, when we're talking about precious metals, especially something like silver, which yes, it's very volatile, but there's simply not enough of it to go around. Yeah, this stuff is painful, but put yourself on a 5, 10, 20-year plan, depending on your age. Prepare yourself for retirement because that's the next crisis that the world is facing.
I agree.
By 2033, the United States Social Security Trust, they call it, officially basically runs out of savings. This, according to the Congressional Budget Office's numbers in the United States, will trigger a 25% cut in benefits that they are able to pay out to Social Security recipients. And I'm certain that it's probably going to happen sooner in the United States. It's going to happen in the UK.
100%. It's already.
France is under pressure, right? We see it in countries all in the West, as well as in Japan, China, Turkey. This system is under pressure, and they will print the difference with paper money in order to fill the gap because they don't want to lose the votes. The voters, of course, retirees who can swing elections.
It's really refreshing to hear that sentiment, because that's something I've believed in so much about the long-term planning. You've got to have a plan for the future. And now in our modern society, I think it sort of has accelerated since COVID, but everybody's got a short-term outlook. They want the next big, they want to double their stock in a day trading, or they want the next Bitcoin. And a little bit, silver became that sort of meme stock over the last couple of weeks. And people maybe just got in thinking they could flip it next week and make even more money. And for me and for my family, it's about the long term. It's about that financial debt-free stability that we can achieve. That's so important for us, just to be disconnected from that system. Unfortunately, we're in a world where you have to look after yourself, and that's scary. But if you plan correctly, gold and silver being part of that, I feel like it's just you're going to be richer than everyone else. Doesn't matter what number that richness is, you'll just be richer than everyone else, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense perfectly. And you mentioned the day trading thing, and there was a period back in 2025 when because I'm also invested in the miners, the mining stocks. I think they are massively undervalued right now versus the metal itself, even after what happened yesterday. In fact, look at silver pulled back like 30%, and the silver miners only pulled back 15% because they were already so massively undervalued. Okay. Now, I got on Instagram some kind of ad from a day trader guy. I told you about this mining company that would go up, and it went up 10%, and I took my and this is a company I own stocks in, and we sold it, and we took our profit, and we're moving on to the next thing. Well, that stock more than doubled in less than 6 months after I saw that.
Wow.
And if he had the mentality that I recognize this is an undervalued asset, he could have made a lot more than selling out on a 10%.
I think it was Warren Buffett's famous phrase, it's time in the market, not timing the market, that makes you the most money.
If I won't own something for 5 years, I don't want to own it for 5 minutes, is another thing he said, right? And that's, love him or hate him, Warren Buffett, I understand he's a controversial figure. This is the mentality you need to have. And I think everybody especially needs to switch their mentality into, how am I going to live when I'm retired, when I can't work anymore? Because the national pension plans that exist around the world are not going to take care of you like they used to.
Now, we've gone through gold and silver and what's happened with that. During this last couple of days with all this turmoil with that, have we seen any major moves in the stock market? Obviously, we've been at the World Money Fair and I haven't kept an eye on anything, but has there been any effect on the stock market at all?
I mean, in the mining sector, the miners really dumped hard. But again, I think it's curious that the silver miners dumped about 15%, let's say more or less on average, whereas the price of silver, spot price of silver, went down 30%. The market understands that these companies are undervalued, that the price of silver isn't going back to $30 an ounce, and that the margins for these companies, so the amount of money, the profitability of these companies is going way up, especially with oil where it's at right now, because that's like a large expense for these mining companies. And with oil relatively low right now, their expense structure is a lot more tame than it was back in 2022 when we kind of reached the bottom for those mining companies, because the price of oil was above $100 a barrel. Now, the price of oil can go back to above $100 a barrel. I'm absolutely convinced of that. If you look at the price of oil priced in gold and silver, it's really never been cheaper today than it has since 1971.
So the gold to oil ratio.
I look at that, and I started buying oil energy stocks back in 2025, in near the end of 2025, because I think oil is undervalued, and it's the biggest hedge to my mining stocks. Because if the price of oil surges, I'll benefit from the oil energy stocks, whereas that might offset a little bit of weakness in those mining stocks. But I think in general, commodities are going to be going up, and the oil stocks, they were flat to slightly up yesterday. NASDAQ, S&P 500, it was quite volatile. They were slightly down, but I think they recovered near the end of the day.
There was movements. There's always movements at the moment. I've got stocks and shares I'm invested in. Like yourself, you see some big drops in certain ones, but you see others actually doing quite well.
Okay. So there was no correlation with the gold and silver. to the stock market.
Not in the same
nothing was-
percentages.
yeah.
There was a wobble. There's always going to be movements.
Yeah.
People reallocating money, moving maybe some of the profits from the gold and silver that these big institutions were taking have been replowed into something else.
But let me ask you this question, because it's a good point.
Mm.
If these guys, these traders, according to the mainstream media narrative, are taking $4 trillion, $5 trillion out of the market cap of gold and
Where's that
silver,
going?
Yeah.
and the stock market went down, where did the money go?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
that's the point.
there was no rotation.
But-
Bitcoin is down to like $80,000.
But
That
money,
rotation's never
remember,
happening.
that money doesn't exist. That's
Yeah.
just, it's,
Yeah.
It was a hole. That was a $5 trillion hole, in my opinion, that the banks had. That this was a bank bailout, and that's why I say it. I understand it might sound crazy, and let's see what's going to happen over the next 2 weeks to 4 months.
Yeah.
I know it's a crappy timeline to give, right? But that is where we are in the market. If we're entering more normal conditions, we could see a 4-month consolidation. If we're just going to keep, crazy town like we've been in, in 2 weeks we could be above $100 again.
Yeah.
I agree. There's no rhyme or reason to some of these movements that you can observe in a sort of day basis. You just have to look at it in that longer term, in my opinion.
It's just suspicious. It just stinks from
Yeah.
a mile away, in
It
my
does.
opinion. Especially with that information that JP Morgan is closing a bunch of shorts at $78, like precisely for silver. It stinks to the high heavens, if you ask me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, taking it back to something you came up with, where people in the stacking community are really trying to look for that quick buck, and we see that in the younger generation a lot.
Yeah.
It's that quick buck, that quick buck, that quick buck. What do you think your advice would be, or not? Again, not advice, but opinion would be on this big drop now?
Yeah.
Are we sort of saying, look, start putting a bit of money, not going mad,
Yeah.
but putting a bit of money in it now while we've got this dip,
Yeah.
and letting it grow slowly again? Or,
Yeah.
but advising people that, look, don't be looking for that big, massive thing.
Yeah.
Do
So
this over time again.
I've got a video actually coming out. So we're filming on a Saturday. My video is coming out on a Sunday. I don't know if people
I'll
will
work
see
with
this
you
before
guys to
that.
see
And
when this goes out. I'll work
this
with you
probably
to-
actually have gone out after, but
Yeah.
the video there is titled, "How do you put, well, what value do you put on your gold and silver?" And essentially in there, it's talking about how do you assess what an ounce of silver is worth if you're buying it and also selling it. People will sell. It's natural. Maybe someone bought some silver, they need to pay a bill.
But are you measuring it just on fiat currency then? Or do you think of silver in a different way?
I personally think of silver in a different way. I think of
Right.
silver, an ounce of silver bought me whatever it bought me 5 years ago, and that same ounce of silver is buying me the same thing today.
Right.
But the young generation, the people who want that quick turnaround, I did videos in December criticizing people for paying £2,000 a kilo on eBay.
Yeah, I
They
remember.
were selling for nearly £4,000 a kilo on eBay
Yeah.
last week. I've even had emails from people saying, because of your, advice, never advice,
Yeah.
I didn't buy those £2,000 kilos and now I've missed out. That you can't look at that. You can't live with regrets on silver.
Absolutely right.
If you're going to be buying those ounces now, you've got to think about where that money is going to be transported through time. That's what I've said, and it's the message I've had on my channel for a very long time. If you're brand new to silver, I'll put this analogy to you. In 2004, silver was about £2 an ounce.
Yep.
Yeah. When I got started buying silver, I was lucky still there was that big dip. It was down at £10 an ounce. But in the 2010-11 run up, people were paying £30, £40 an ounce.
Correct.
That's a 15 times increase in just an 8-year period. So where will it be in 8 years from now? If people are still used to buying at this level, and I think personally this is a new norm for silver because it's been undervalued for so long.
100%.
It's felt cheap for too long, hasn't it? Like when we were paying £20 an ounce and below, I think one of the spot price deals we did with the bullion dealer Atkinson's, it was £18 an ounce.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just back the truck up now if I can go back in time. But it's hard to do that. So from these new people looking to flip, there will be some people who I think will lose money because they'll not have the guts or the volition to hold it. But what it has brought, and the majority is a lot of new people to the game. It's brought people into the fold of silver and gold. And maybe, they'll have these moments where they go, oh God, I've made the wrong decision. But if they hold, if they see it out, they'll see it coming good. And I'll liken it to the Wall Street silver movement that happened a few years ago. I've always been a proponent of make the right decisions, don't take risks, don't over leverage yourself. If you're going to buy for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Back then, people were paying huge premiums on silver. They thought it was going to go to the moon. They were buying at $50 for a US Eagle against spot of 30. And back then, it was a high premium. If you had to go to a bullion dealer, you'd lose money. If you had to sell. But look where the price is now. Those people have come good. Some of them will have got out. The people who stayed in, they've been proven right.
I think there's going to be a lot of fear at the moment with the new buyers with this sudden drop. And it's the same with stock markets and gold and silver. When they get a sudden drop like that, people panic and they sell, where really, if they have the ability and they haven't over leveraged, they should be holding it right now, not selling. Your opinion on that subject?
Yeah, first thing before I start talking, Adam, if you can pass me my gold. My son's behind the camera, just so you know. He's my cameraman. Pass me my gold out of my bag, because I also want to tell a little bit of a story here. But the problem is that most people think in black and white terms. I'm either all in on something or I'm all out on something.
Right.
Now, what I always tell my audience, and what I think each and every one of you need to adopt in your own life, is you need to figure out what you can afford to put into gold and silver without changing your lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just put that amount in every month.
Yeah.
You know, people sometimes, you know, when they find out I'm a gold and silver YouTuber and they see, and I'm going to show you in a moment some of the stuff that I've purchased, they say, what are you doing messing around with? You got it there? Thanks, Adam. Here's, for example, a 1/2 ounce gold Philharmoniker that I purchased. And people say, you're a YouTuber, you've done well for yourself. Why are you messing about with 1/4 ounce and 1/2 ounce coins? The reason is because I've been stacking since 2008. Now, every quarter so that's 3 months, quarter is 3 months. Since 2008, I've been able, you know, just slowly buying about 1 ounce of gold every quarter. Now, there are 4 quarters in a year. So that's about 4 ounces of gold times what? 15, 16, 17 years, right? You do the math at home.
Yep.
You do the math at home. You can figure out how much gold I have based on that. And sometimes it was months where I was just like 1 or 2 ounces. Of course, in the early days, I couldn't afford much. I could afford a few grams. I could afford a little bit. But the thing was that I just stayed consistent with what I could afford.
Yeah, agreed.
And I've done very well.
I've even got my gold here, the sovereigns. It's just like you buying for that long term, the averaging. You know, you look across my stack and my average, I love it. It's great. And so even though I paid, you know, if spot was over £4,000, I paid like £960 for each of these sovereigns. It's the most expensive that I've ever bought for a bullion.
But this is what I've
it
seen
doesn't really
sometimes.
matter
When
to
it
me.
drops like this, you get people going, can you get me a whole load?
Yeah.
Can you get me loads?
Yeah.
And it's like, relax. Let's see what's happening. Let's buy a little bit and go like, so I absolutely agree with you.
Always keep some money on the side.
I've got a great little thought experiment story to share. I've been pouring silver as a business for 9 years. This is our 10th year. And on average, it's tapered down how much I've poured in the years as I've got busier with YouTube. But I've poured on average 75 kilos of silver a year and retailed it and sold it. So 9 times 75, you know, it's a big number of kilos of silver that I've had to buy. If I didn't pour any of it and I just kept it, every year I bought 75 kilos of silver, didn't do anything with it. Not that I could have afforded to do that, but if I had done that and sold it at the peak yesterday, I'd have made £2.5 million.
Wow.
Okay, against a £400,000 outlay.
So that shows you over that period of 9 years.
But
if you wasn't breaking it down, and
the worst thing is that I put blood, sweat, and tears into making these products and selling them and making money. And you know, I did not make £2.5 million on my business in that time period. But you know, you can't look back at that in a regret, because you just can't outlay that much capital as an individual on that stuff. But again, it's the same principle, whether it's 75 kilos a year or 1 kilo a year or whatever is working for you. That long-term compounding is what makes the difference.
Too many people are out there trying to hit, in US baseball terms, home runs. You know what I mean? They're trying to knock it out of the park in one shot. And I always said I'd prefer to get rich slow than really, you know, if you're trying to get rich quick, you're going to get poor fast.
I agree.
Do you think social media plays a role in that?
Yeah, of course, because they see, especially these fake traders. I made 100,000 today. I made a 50,000 today on this trade, on that trade. And they say, oh, I want to do that too. Now, listen, I'm not by any means Warren Buffett or anything like that. But I'd never have to work a day in my life again because I planned everything out in front of me. I had like a 20-year plan. I was able to achieve it in 16 years. And I don't need to worry if for example, in Poland, what's called ZUS, which is like in the UK, it's like your national pension plan, right?
Yeah.
If they never give me a dime in retirement, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality everybody needs to have.
That was something that we connected with the first night when we were talking about the financial independence and the plan, because I've had a similar thing with my wife when we were young, when we got together, and we knew that we didn't want to work into our 50s, 60s. You know, we wanted to have the financial independence to be able to step back, and
it's not about having a yacht, or
No.
all those things. But you want to know what? If you plan correctly, you never know. It might come, right?
Yeah.
But you have to be patient, because if you're trying to, hit the winning shot, if you're trying to hit treble 20 with every dart, sometimes all it takes to win the game is a double 2 in darts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to think that way.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, good analogy on that one as well. But yeah. Well, I think this has been an amazing, amazing chat. And absolute honor to have both of you here.
My man.
Wow.
There we go.
No, really. I mean, it's amazing. Like, both great minds in your fields. Ball Guy Money, have a chat to the people out there. Tell them where they can find you. But I know everyone who watches me already knows who you are. And if you've got any last words for anyone about the situation at the moment, let's have it now.
So you can find me on YouTube. My channel is called Bald Guy Money, and you can find me on X. I'm also there. My profile is the one with the check. There are a lot of fakes. I will never contact you. Please don't let the scammers take advantage of you. And my message would be, just take it slow. Just take it one day at a time. Don't worry about days like yesterday. Again, we are at the same prices for gold and silver that we were at around 3 weeks ago. For the month of January, the prices of both gold and silver were up more than 10%. If I had told you at the beginning of the month that was going to be the result, but I didn't tell you what the highs were going to be, you would have been satisfied with it. And if you're new to this, get on a schedule and stick to the schedule. That is the best thing I can tell you. And make it a 10, 15, 20-year plan, because when you're too old to work, nobody is coming to save you.
And Backyard Bullion, again, I'm sure everyone who watches me already knows who you are. But just in case there's that one person out there, where can they find you, and what is your final words for the guys?
So obviously you guys know I'm YouTube. That's my primary. I'm not really on any of the other socials, but the Silver Forum is also an incredible place to get the same kind of people as we're just sitting here, the sensible stackers. So head on over to those. And my advice for people is, I'm just sorry, Bull Guy, I'm going to have to copy you. It's a bit derivative, but the long-term plan, financial independence. I'm not joking when I said we really kind of bonded on that. We have that plan, that similarity in life, and the dividends it pays you later when you start to get into your middle age and start to have families, and you can't fathom how. Again, it come back to that thing. You'll be rich in life. Doesn't matter what the number is in the bank account, but you're rich in life, and that's what I want from people.
Some people, all they want is just a little breathing room.
And the phrase, when you've got enough, like you don't need, like you say, to have the yachts and the Ferraris and the Bugattis. It might happen for some people, but if you've got enough and you're happy in life and you've got security for your family, that's priceless.
And that's more than most people have these days, isn't it?
That is, yeah.
And from me, guys.
Whoa.
Oh.
We need to say thank you to you for
Yeah.
hosting us. You've said thank you to us. Tell the good people more about you, Sid, and what you do as well, because there might be some new people. We might put it on our channels. I'd love to put it on my channel as well.
It would be amazing. Yeah,
I'll share this for sure.
Great, thank you. Well, I'm Cobra Stacker. I'm a YouTuber. On my channel, I do a load of reviews of different products and all that, and we try and follow what's happening with gold and silver. I also do an auction every Friday night at 7:30 on my YouTube channel, and my piece of information, or my thinking on all of this is, look, this has been a big lesson to a lot of new stackers out there, a lot of new people coming into gold and silver. And I agree with both of you as well. Stack slow, stack steady, and don't over leverage your money, right? Just make sure you've got money for your normal life, and then whatever spare you can afford to do, put it into a bit of gold and silver, and you'll be heading on the right direction. But I want to, again, Ball Guy Money, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you and an honor, and your wisdom is amazing, and I'm sure we'll be chatting a lot more.
I hope so.
Bullion, we're friends,
Need
in a
we say any more?
profile.
It's
Yeah.
always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure.
So thank you both so much. And guys, thank you for watching.